Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. So, as a first grade teacher, we go through many challenges. Do you guys want to name some of the challenges that we have to go through?
For me, sometimes it's hard to get students to finish their work.
Engagement.
Yes, that's one of the challenges that I have always dealt with as a teacher is motivating students, especially those that are intrinsically unmotivated. We have students that seem motivated because they want to please their parents or please us by, making good grades.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole point of this research is figuring out how we can motivate students intrinsically so that characteristic trait will transfer later on outside of school when they become a productive citizen in our community. So this research is going to focus on different types of interventions that can be implemented in the classroom at an early age so that it can foster growth mindset, can help them to develop grit, meaning not to give up and to try to overcome challenges and hardships, and also to be kind and a great citizen, and to always do your very best. Okay. So I started this research from the first day of school. As you guys know, from the first day of school, I've never used the term smart. I've always tried to encourage them by using the right kind of phrases. Instead of saying, hey, Kitty, you're very smart, I would say, that was very challenging, and you really try to figure out the answer by using different strategies. And I know that you put a lot of work into it. So have you guys, tell me how you try to overcome the challenge of motivating students. What have you tried in your classroom?
Definitely positive praise to another student usually helps. If I say, oh, hey, I like the way that such and such is doing this, then other students are like, oh, okay, I want to do it the same way. And that kind of motivates them to have a better product with their work.
Wow.
Yeah, and I definitely use the positive praise, making an example of what is expected, and then just avoiding using words that kind of limit them.
Mm-hmm.
Things more of that's, great how you used your strategy or something like that. So I definitely try to kind of avoid that as well. But the positive praise really helps.
I'm sorry. And being very intentional, like you said. Not saying you're smart, but, I like the way you showed your work on this.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed when I make them show their work, then they're more proud of their work.
They're taking ownership of it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I'm so glad you ladies mentioned that, because the things that you are doing in your classroom is actually a trait of growth mindset. And we want our students to have a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. Knowing that, hey, there will be challenges, but I can overcome it. And knowing that of course, the final product is important, but how I got there is more important because it defines how I overcame those struggles to get to where I am.
To emphasize the growth.
Yes, and for them to take ownership of their growth and progress is very, very impactful on how they will overcome the next challenge in their life. And I know that I help my kids to take ownership of their work by doing having a visual representation of their reading levels up here. So whenever they move up a reading level, they can physically move it, and they're proud of it, and they're taking ownership. They know exactly where they are and where they need to be. So how do you guys help your kids take ownership of their work in your classroom?
We have a celebration every time somebody, we cheer, and we have a drum roll every time somebody moves up a level. And then throughout the day, even if somebody just makes an effort, if we're in a morning message and somebody is up at the board and they're writing something up, we all say, good job, way to go. I've even had students tell me when I've made a mistake, it's okay, Miss Seiler. So just that constant
classroom environment.
Yeah, same thing with the visuals. I definitely like to have the visuals up like yours so they can see it and they can actually move it themselves. And also just letting them present their work. At the end, when I'm like, okay, if it's really nice, then I'll let you present to the class. And so some of them work really, really hard because they want to be able to show it off and present it.
I love that. I think in all 3 of our classrooms, we really, really encourage our students to take ownership, and we really have a classroom full of risk takers. So I'm glad when you mentioned that when you make a mistake, your students are not afraid to tell you, hey, Miss Seiler, it's actually this. But of course, they're not telling you in a rude way. They're accepting the fact that no one is perfect, and we're all here to learn, and that you're not going to turn them down or they're not going to get in trouble just because they corrected you. It happens every day in my class, and when they correct me, I will tell them thank you, because it shows that you're paying attention, and that makes me really proud. And essentially that's what we want to instill in all of our children. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the research. So the base of it is to develop growth mindset, grit, basically taking ownership of their progress and appreciating that. And in order to implement those interventions or those skills, I've included a few interventions. I used brag tags. So, we want to motivate students intrinsically to do well academically, but of course, we're hoping that those traits will obviously transfer on to behavior, to social skills, and all of that, because eventually they will exit school and become citizens in our community. So bucket filler, instead of saying, let's say they did something really nice, I would say, thank you for being a bucket filler. When you do nice things for others, your bucket gets full because it makes you feel good. So it's not about just taking, it's about giving as well. So that's one intervention that I used. And I also have physical representations so that students can track their own progress. And I use the right kinds of praise, like Miss Seiler mentioned, and also Miss Hunt. And like they mentioned as well, creating a culture of risk takers, so they know that we're all here to learn, and we should ask questions, and we should never be afraid to speak up and challenge one another in a positive way. So my research took over the course of 3 weeks, and I collected students' homework for the course of 3 weeks to see if they would show work on their homework even when I'm not around. So to see if they really would put in the effort even when I'm not around, to see if they're really intrinsically motivated. And the results was pretty good. So I have 26 students. So in a week, 26 times 7 is 130. And on week 1, I collected 121 homework. A few did not turn in, but that's expected. On week 2, I collected 116 homework. And on week 3, I collected 119 homework out of 130. And for week 1, out of the 121, 103 showed work on their homework. And for week 2, out of the 116, 98 students showed work on their homework. And then on week 3, out of 119, 86 students showed work on their homework. And I think the reason why the data decreased during the weeks is because I didn't check. Because every morning they come in, they had to show me their homework. And if there was no work, I would tell them, show me some work. But in order to ensure authenticity and no bias for this research, I had to make sure that I don't look at the homework, or else I'll be tempted to tell them to do it the right way. So here's example of a few work. You can tell that they did not just write out the answer. They used their strategies. They modeled, and they used a lot of different strategies that we work on in class. And another way that I measured the data is to collect random students' work throughout the week on the content of math, ELA, and writing. Just random students. So because we have those students that always do their work, and it's tempting because you know the results are positive. So I try real hard to just pick it at random, and the results are positive as well, which makes me very happy. But it is expected because, like I said, I implemented these interventions, since the beginning of the school year. So I just want to go over one last thing. One last thing that I did was I interviewed all of my students on 5 questions to see where their mindset is, okay? And the questions are as follow. What does working hard mean to you? So I'm going to ask you, what does working hard mean to you, Ms. Hunt?
Working hard to me means that I'm getting the job done, showing all of my work, I'm trying my hardest, and I'm doing my best.
Wow. What about you, Ms. Seiler?
I'd say it would be putting forth my best effort, even when I'm not sure on how to do something, and finding answers if I need them.
Yeah, I've asked all 26 of my students, and these are the top 4 answers for that question. What does working hard mean to you? Working hard to me means doing my best work, not giving up, showing work, and using strategies. So I think it's fair to say that all of us are growth mindset teachers, which reflects on how our students learn. And the second question I asked them is, when is it okay to give up and quit? This one is tricky, so I'm going to let you answer it first. Tell the truth. When is it okay to give up and quit?
Well, honestly, I think that if long as you have tried all of your options, so that means tried it first, asked questions, and then you're still not understanding it. I don't know. I'm going to say I don't feel like it's ever okay to quit. I'm going to just
That's what I like to hear.
I don't, I mean, I feel like, like I've told my students and my own children that, you have to try.
Yes.
And you can't just quit. Because if you don't do it now, it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
And you're still going to have to learn how to do it. So
I agree. I'm going to kind of piggyback on what you said. That's a hard question to answer because it's like you don't want them to be a quitter. But at the same time, if something is too, like if they're reading a book and they are on the first page and they get 5 or 6 words wrong, okay, we're not going to quit, but we're going to try another book. So maybe not quitting, but maybe trying something different. But that's a really hard question because you don't want them to quit, but sometimes things might have their challenges for them.
That was a really hard question, and the results weren't as I expected a different results because every day, of course, we instill, don't give up, work hard, you can do it. I had a mixed answer, and the mixed answers align with what you guys said. So that makes me feel really good as well. A few students said, it is never okay to give up and quit. You have to keep trying. And of course, majority of the students said, after you tried really hard, then ask for help. Right. So that makes sense, right? I mean, I think we're doing a great job.
But that's still the growth mindset that they're not afraid to go ahead and ask for help.
You have to try by yourself and then ask for help.
And then that's ownership because they know that, okay, now I can't do it. Let me get help.
Yes, exactly. So the third question is, how do you feel when you do not understand something? Let's be real. How do you feel when you don't understand something?
Frustrated, confused. Maybe upset.
Exactly. Determined, wanting to figure it out and do it right? So it's hard to just be growth all the way. We all have our flaws. And these are the top answers of I expected a different answer as well, but I got a lot of mixed answer, but at least it's their answers. It's really their answers. Mad, sad, nervous, and confused. And a few said curious because I want to know how to do it. I want to figure out a way to do it. So answers were as expected. Okay, just 2 more. Okay, what makes you a good learner?
You're a good listener. Are you attentive?
Yes.
Did you grasp something from the lesson? Maybe you didn't learn everything, but if you grasp something from me, that means you're.
What about you? What makes you a good learner?
Me personally, or you feel like in general? I'm sorry.
Let me ask you personally. What makes you a good learner?
Personally, I'm a listener, and I just feel like I have that drive to always do my best. Like if I haven't succeeded with something the first time, I just feel like I've got that determination to I've got to make it better the next. So
you're motivated.
Constant motivating myself to to figure it out.
Intrinsically motivated. Okay. And these are the top 4 answers that I've received. I work hard. I learn from my mistakes. I don't give up. I do my best work.
Oh, that was good. Learn from your mistakes.
And the very last one. This one, I expected these answers, and I've got it. Because I think I repeated, like I said, over and over until they're sick of me. Sick of hearing me say it. What does learning from your mistakes mean? What does learning from your mistakes mean?
Correcting the behavior.
Yes.
I would agree completely, 100% on that one.
And here are the 2 top answers. If you do it on purpose, that wasn't a mistake. That was a choice.
Yeah,
definitely.
They've heard it too many times. And the second one was, it means you can fix it. So that's a good thing because they realize, hey, I made a mistake, but I can fix it. And that's a growth mindset. That's a characteristic trait that we want to instill in our kids. So, yeah, that's actually all of the data that I used to do in this research. And of course, the results aren't as high as I expected, but this is a real class and they're real students with different feelings. Going forward, some of the discussions and some of the ideas for future research is that time was one thing that was in my advantage because I started it since the beginning of the school year. So, kids had more time to practice these strategies and practice. So versus if you only had a month to do it, maybe your data won't be as high as mine would be. So that's one thing that I think was an advantage for my research. Another thing is, a disadvantage actually, I think it would be much more helpful if I did a pre-interview of the students when they first came in at the beginning of the school year, ask them the same exact questions and compare the data or the answers to how they would answer at the end of the year. And other than that, I think there's definitely something there, and that growth mindset and grit is something that we can explicitly teach to our kids every single day just through teacher-student intervention in general. Okay, ladies, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.